We've been talking about this storm system, strong winds, hail, all possible.
That's right, Sydney. We've been gearing up for this over the last week, and here it is. In just a few hours, just after midnight, we're going to have those first storms entering northwest portions of Alabama. So from 2 a.m. tomorrow morning all the way through noon, we are weather aware for these three risks. Damaging winds 60 to 70 miles per hour, looking very likely and probably widespread across the entire region. And where we have that isolated threat for a few short-lived tornadoes, that's really going to be highest north of Birmingham, north of Tuscaloosa, but the entire area still going to be outlooked for that same risk of a couple of tornadoes and even up to golf ball size hail. We don't say that often down here, but certainly the parameters are in place for that to be another concern going into tomorrow morning. So here's that line of storms, 2 a.m. to noon tomorrow. That's the time frame that we really are outlining for you guys to be a little bit more just conscientious about the weather. Make sure that you have several different ways to receive alerts. Of course, never ever rely on those outdoor tornado sirens. For a good chunk of the region, these storms are going to be coming through during the dark time, during the overnight, wee hours of Monday morning before many of you are going to be waking up. So you still need to have multiple ways to receive alerts. Even once the sun comes up and many of you are getting up and going about your day, still have ways to receive alerts as you're on the road, heading to work, getting the kids ready for school. That's why this is going to be a highly impactful event, because it's lining up with that morning rush hour, the morning commute. The good news is that many schools have already kind of heeded the warnings and gone ahead and kind of delayed classes by a few hours to hopefully take a little bit of the headaches away from those parents trying to get the kids out the door tomorrow morning. But if you are still going to school and work on time, you need to allow maybe up to an hour of extra time, just because we're going to be driving through very torrential rain. We're talking about low visibility, blinding rain, very strong winds, and of course that very low wind threat for a tornado. So just try to avoid travel tomorrow morning if you can, because on top of all of that, we're going to have probably several downed trees and numerous power outages across the region once all of this is said and done. So pretty much all of us are under the same threat, the same 3 out of 5 enhanced risk, where you see the orange shading here. That goes through 7 o'clock tomorrow morning, and then you pick it back up at 7 o'clock tomorrow morning, and this is where it extends. So if you kind of combine those two together, all of us under that level 3 out of 5 enhanced risk for severe weather. Right now, things are quiet. Temperatures are in the 60s and lower 70s. It's awfully warm and muggy out there, the kind of way it would feel before a line of storms pushes on through. Right now, they are in Lexington, back to Bowling Green, Kentucky, coming in through the Nashville area. Notice all of those yellow polygons are severe thunderstorm warnings, and those red polygons around the Nashville metro, some tornado warnings. And I think we'll have a few of those even in central Alabama once this event starts to unfold. Now, this is the section of the line that really hasn't filled in just yet, but that is going to be what impacts us. And here in the next few hours, we'll see some new storms line up just south of Memphis and stretching back towards Shreveport, Louisiana. Those will move across Mississippi, eventually make their way into northwestern Alabama. So let's walk it through very slowly here on Futurecast. Again, staying quiet over the next several hours, but here's 2 o'clock tonight, and notice that line of storms just starting to kind of inch their way into northwestern Alabama. So Lamar, Marion, Fayette, Winston counties, Walker, Coleman counties, you guys get the storms first. And notice these could be in a discrete mode, kind of isolated at first. And if that's the case, I mentioned that the elevated tornado risk would really be highest here, where I'm circling with my hand the northwestern portion of central Alabama. Eventually, these storms will work their way closer to the Interstate 65 and 20 corridor and kind of form into a line. I think at this point, there's still going to be a tornado threat, but they would be very short-lived and embedded circulations. The primary threat with this would be very straight line, damaging wind gusts, and this is what I'm really most concerned about. 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, lining up here with the Birmingham metro. It's going to be a rough go of it in the morning for the Birmingham area. Eventually, these storms make their way into eastern Alabama by 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. They push on out of here by noon. We get a very short break, but the leading edge of the cold front still hasn't made it through yet, and that's going to actually initiate some new storms, and we could have a few severe warnings in the afternoon with mainly just some hail and wind threats. So still going to be kind of another round to potentially go through tomorrow evening. And those severe threats, again, heavy rain and high winds are the highest primary threats, but the hail and tornado threats certainly are not negligible. So we're going to have to watch all modes of severe weather over the next several hours. Chief Meteorologist Dave Nussbaum and Alex Puckett will be here in the next few hours to cover those storms. We're dry on Tuesday, and look at this, a summer pattern by the end of this week. Sydney temperatures are going to be close to 90 degrees by the end of this week.
All right, Jacob, still